have any 3-year girls, so it'll just be somebody who's been around since last year. I do not have any quotas that I pick as far as a certain number of 9th graders, a certain number of 8th graders, or anything like that. I don't pick any particular race or creed or anything like that. They simply go through the judging, the top 15 make it, and that is it. We had 2 7th graders last year make it. Any of you who participated in our clinic back in February, I think, I must commend the 6th graders that joined us. I saw a lot of promising talent in that group. And actually, it sort of scared me because I felt like I was on a shopping spree going, gosh, I hope I get that one, and I hope I get that one, and I really don't have any say-so over it. It's the judges that do that. But I really want to encourage the 6th graders. I saw a lot of talent. Don't get frustrated when you see all these big girls out there. Keep it up, because I was really impressed with the attitude, the hard work that they were putting into it, their concentration level. And if they don't make it this year, get them back out there next year. Okay, any questions about tryout? Yes?
Are they held on Thursday?
Yes.
Is there any day on Friday or anything?
No, I'm just going to have 1 day's worth of tryouts. It will be an open tryout, dollar admission kind of thing. One, because a cheerleader, if they're a true cheerleader, come alive in front of a crowd to start with. Some of my teacher friends pick on me because I come alive and I've got people to
I think
talk
I
to.
misstated correctly. What I was really concerned about are the girls that should they go out on a Thursday and have to come back to school on a Friday. It's usually held like on a Friday, so they have the weekend to recover should they not make it.
Well, unfortunately, I would have loved. I would have loved
come
to
back
have
the very
done-
next day is kind of tough. That's what
Oh,
I'm
it
saying
is.
about.
I would love to have done it on a Friday. Unfortunately, our school's calendars right now are insane. We have a band and chorus music trip that is taking away, I don't know how many music department kids from our school on Friday to Busch Gardens all day. So that's why it's being Thursday instead of Friday. Simply there was another commitment with the music department to be gone to Busch Gardens. And I really couldn't justify not letting any of those girls try out. Yes, ma'am?
Are the girls chosen right now?
Yes. We will be tabulating the scores in the gym as things go on. If you've ever been to the high school, they split it and run each section. We don't. We just run everybody through and tabulate them as they go, try to herd them through as fast as possible. They'll go out in groups of 3s.
So you're going to do everything all at one time?
They'll do everything all at one time. There will be a dance this year. It is a very brief dance. I recommend that if the girls can take a tape with them to the first day of clinic, we can make them a copy of the music right then. However, it is a popular song, so they may already have it. That's what I asked the girls that are making up the dance to pick something popular, so we stand a chance of maybe half of the girls having the music already.
Are you going to do cartwheel?
That'll be an optional. They will be able to use a cartwheel in an optional. All gymnastics outside of a split will be optional. I think it's 5 points. I didn't know the score sheet. Yes, ma'am.
What is with the song, or do you know?
I can't say it yet. I know what it is, but I can't say it. That's one of the things that's got to wait till then. That's one of the things that has to wait till then. Okay, if there are no more questions on that, I'm going to go on to some of our little, the first thing is the time commitment involved. The young ladies will be practicing during football season 2 to 3 times a week as a maximum. No more than 3 times a week during football season. Football games are on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. They'll either be at Orange Park High Stadium or at Middleburg High Stadium. Those are the only 2 places that we play. Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. The girls will have to be there at 6:30. And it's provide their own transportation to get to the football games because neither one of them are all that long distance to drive to get to. If there is a problem, of course, you can call one of the other girls or call myself and we can get them there without a major crisis. Basketball season this year was much better than last. We'll have a 2 practice a week maximum during basketball season. And as the season goes on, sometimes we're lucky to get in 1 practice because if you have 2 or 3 basketball games a week, you don't use up too many more days practicing. By football season, the end of football season, you have a few standard stunts that you know you can hit, maybe 5 or 6 different stunts. And so you don't spend as much time practicing that. Summers, have summer practices. Now, this year's going to be a little bit awkward because I've always encouraged people to take their vacations after they go to summer camp. I'm messing things up and taking summer vacation immediately the second I leave school on the 12th. So, for legality reasons, they're not going to have practice when I'm gone. We are going to clinic at University of Florida, July 14th through 17th. If you think your daughter stands a real good chance of making the squad, that clinic is mandatory. They must be there. And we will be practicing morning practices in the summer, 8 to 10 o'clock. That way they have the rest of their day to do with whatever they want to do with on summer vacation. That and the fact that it hasn't had a chance to get very hot yet. It's still a little bit cooled out early in the morning and it's comfortable enough to work in. Performance absences or practice absences, if they absolutely cannot be there, I need to know ahead of time, especially if we are going to be building stumps. Mr. Ramsey mentioned the possibility of ground bound. Now, Orange Park High School has had a reputation of having a very fine squad, and part of the reason why is because they have done very well here and at Ridgeview to feed into there, and they have come up with these skills. If anyone's daughter makes the squad and they do not want their daughter to go up, I personally would much rather do it on an individual basis. If you don't want your daughter in the press or the extension, then you just say, I don't want my daughter up there, and we'll put her somewhere else. Okay, that kind of thing. If there is an overall consensus with the parents that they would like that, then by all means I would have to go along with it. But I think that it's really going to be damaging. Orange Park definitely doesn't want us to go ground bound because they'd be losing a lot of these necessities. The one year that we spent half a year ground bound was the same year that we won a trophy in the Nashville IOCC for the best pyramids out of all the 60-something junior highs that made it to a national competition. So that was a definite heartbreaker to be able to have to do that. But also, it made us appreciate it and take definite safety precautions every time we do something. Yeah.
Are you going to consider letting them cradle this year?
We're going to have to fuss with the boss. This is being videotaped. I have to behave myself. But
I think when you're talking about partner stunts, if you teach proper safety, they can cradle as easy as they can come from standing up down to the ground. We've got safety videos. What you're going to find is a lot of your girls in Pop Warner have cradled in basket toss since they were 8 and 9 years old. I don't see going any, more complex than that, but I think you're taking them backwards if you don't allow them to cradle in at least basket toss. And also every other junior high in this county cradles and basket toss.
And when we went to camp last year, they were trying to teach us safety techniques for dismounting. And, when I told these staffers who are professionals at teaching this kind of thing, and I said, well, sorry, boss says we can't do that.
I think
And they just shook their heads and said, that's ridiculous because
when
it's much
you
safer.
approach him, I'd be glad to come and talk to him about it with you, and I'm sure you'll
Set
set
up the appointment, yeah. That's a difficult situation when, we know some things, but letting the administration, stuff like that, become aware of the fact that we're not, cheerleading on the surface looks like people are just throwing people everywhere and this, that, and the other's going on, when in fact there are hours and hours and hours of practice behind each stunt. And it's not just somebody out there throwing somebody around. It's something that's gone on with a lot of practice and a lot of careful paying attention. Okay. Going through attire. When they practice, I want them to wear clothes that are in good taste. These girls are to be ladies. I've given them a real hard time, some of them, about what they wear to school even, if they're a cheerleader, and they've come in some pretty outlandish outfits this year, and I've had a few things to say about the dress code and dances and everything else that have gone on, and the girls are like, Miss Warren, lighten up on us. But they are looked at as something different, and they want to be just like everybody else, but the truth is they're not. They're a lakeside cheerleader, and every time there are eyes on them from every direction, and so much more is expected out of them than out of the average little girl that wanders around the halls, and maybe half the school doesn't even know who she is. She can get away with a lot more than somebody who's a cheerleader, and I have teachers all day long coming up to me saying, well, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did this. So I know every time a cheerleader blinks the wrong way, some teacher's got to come and tell me about it. So they do have all eyes on them, and they are expected to behave extremely appropriately. No cheerleader roams around a game or a performance alone, okay? Those are cute little short skirts, and they are cute little girls, most of them, but they do not wander around alone. There's too much that can happen to them. Also, at the football games, they remain on the sidelines unless there is a point where I'm nice enough to let them sneak off to the bathroom, and they go in at least 2 or 3 at a time. They do not go up into the stands. They do not run around and visit their friends. Florida High School Activities Association says they must attend school a half a day to go on to any of the functions that we participate in. So they must do that. Behavior, good sportsmanship is expected. Basketball games, I didn't let them stomp their feet in the bleachers, and they hated me for that. And they said, well, everybody stomps their feet in the bleachers, but they are a model of good sportsmanship. And therefore, they are expected to cheer on our team and support our team and do everything they can in a positive manner. But they do not get to get away with any of the negative things that the rest of the crowd might be doing. And for the rest of the crowd, that's fine. But for a cheerleader, that's not good sportsmanship. Then there are the simple things like using drugs, suspension from school, drinking alcohol, and smoking cigarettes. They're not going to be a cheerleader anymore. Okay, I'm just not going to tolerate that kind of thing. Jewelry, because of safety matters more than anything. If they've got stud earrings, that's okay, but anything that dangles down, all it takes is one girl up on top, and I did let it slip one time. 3 years ago, my first year, had a girl up on somebody's shoulders, and when she went down, her shoestring got caught in that girl's earring, and down it went, and we were mopping up the blood, okay? But I learned from that one, and nobody gets away with anything but stud earrings, okay? Even if they're on top, stud earrings only. Hair out of their face, and preferably up in a ponytail. It looks much nicer, it looks much neater, and you don't end up with feet getting all tangled up and somebody gets hurt. Other activities, cheerleaders have the longest season of anybody around here. However, that eliminates them from volleyball, eliminates them from girls basketball. The only other activities a cheerleader can be involved in are track and softball, because those are spring sports, and by that time we are finished. We have not had the problem that the high schools have of postseason tournaments and competitions and stuff like that. If for some reason that did develop, we would still need the cheerleaders to come back for basketball games, practices, etc. And they would be battled back and forth. I guess we had a little bit of battling with softball this year because they had tryouts kind of early. But their obligations to cheerleading need to be met first before they go on to those activities. They must, I've battled with the girls this year too, they are a student before they are a cheerleader. Student comes first, that's why they're here. So their grades must be maintained, a C average at least. Some of the parents have put stipulations on their daughters that C is not good enough, and that's fine. And I will work with them, do whatever it takes. We had a case this year where we had some trouble with a teacher getting some makeup work done and stuff like that from an extended absence due to illness. And I will work with them, go to bat for these girls to make sure that everything's being done to get these grades up. I don't want them to have to sit out of any games. This is a team activity more than any other. I mean, they can call a basketball a team and they can call softball a team, but their pyramids, you know, the game still goes on if one's sitting on the bench. In cheerleading, the pyramid doesn't go up if one in the middle is on the bench, okay? So I really try to work with them to keep the grades up so we can keep everybody going. We do have a demerit system, and I'm not going to read through all these things. I will put it on the table just to let you know that they can build up demerits. 5 of them would give them a warning, 10 is a suspension, and 15 is dismissal from the squad. Competition. We have in summer camp, we go to the International Cheerleading Foundation for camp. The last day, they have a competition. If you score exceptionally well, you get the right to compete in a national competition in Nashville, Tennessee over Christmas vacation. We did not go last year. Part of it was money. Part of it was that we had gone the year before, and so it really, for junior high level, it's too much to get into the routine of doing something as major as this competition is every single year. The year before we did go, we placed 10th out of 60-something, 70-something squads, which was, I thought, very good considering the first time I'd taken them up there. And we did come away with the best pyramids. I was very proud of the girls. I think we could have done as well last year, but like I said, we made the choice not to go. That decision for this year will rest partially in how well the squad is at camp, if we even have the right to. And then it'll be based on the parents of those 15 girls if they really want to go through the money raising, that kind of thing. The competition itself is not very expensive at all. It's like a $12 registration fee. Hotel room, $77.50 a night for 4 girls to fit in this room at the Opryland Hotel, which is beautiful. The most expensive part for us was the bus to get there. So if anybody has any bus contacts and their daughter makes a squad, that would be real nice. But that's something that I really think I want to make you aware of the fact that that might happen, and it might be something we're looking at, but not let your daughter try out because she might be going to Nashville over Christmas. Money. Camp is about $150. They need a bodysuit, 2 bodysuits, a royal blue one and a white one, blue bloomers. We are looking at the possibility of, instead of a uniform fee, which we had this past year, using money and purchasing a new uniform. Our white uniforms are bordering on trash, and our orange uniforms weren't made as well as they should have been. So we are looking at, keeping those and sort of dealing with them, but purchasing a new uniform on the side. That can range anywhere from $50 to $75 right there. Shoes, I try to keep reasonable. Lady Foot Lockers work with us real well, and we've gotten Nike cheerleading shoes for around $30. Any other incidentals? Yes. We're going to throw in a package deal. Lady Foot Locker is giving us, I believe it's a 15% discount for group purchases, so we were going to get some nice matching socks and that kind of thing as well. To let you know, going back to the safety issue for a minute, I know I'm sort of bouncing around and I don't know if this is making any sense or not. We practice in the safest conditions we can possibly create here, because I really do live in constant fear of somebody being hurt. So far, knock on wood, we've never had any serious injuries. The most serious injuries have occurred either, some cheerleaders have gotten hurt, but it's not been cheerleading. Okay? It's either been some activities they've been involved in after the cheerleading season's over, which has been kind of scary for me this year. I've had a lot of them get hurt as soon as cheerleading was over doing different activities. Some of it has been goofing off at PE. I had one of my cheerleaders in the hospital for a few days a couple years back because of an injury she received in PE. Sort of encouraged me that she could get hurt, but it wasn't my responsibility at that point in time, that I did keep her safe and sound. We try to practice in a safe environment. The school's grass is not real spectacular, but we've enjoyed working on a flat surface in the front. I've had some conflict over why aren't we practicing in the gym on mats, because there's volleyball or basketball going on in the gym most of the time. And practicing on mats when there are balls flying is considerably more dangerous than practicing outside where there's nothing around you. Okay, they police the area before we get started to make sure that there aren't any potholes, there aren't any sticks, there aren't any pieces of broken glass or anything like that before we ever start putting anything up. Making sure the sun's not in their eyes. When somebody goes up, if the sun's in their eyes and they can't get it back down, we don't have any of that problem. That's checked out ahead of time. front of a group until it's perfected in practice with an awful lot of spotters around it, because we'll work and take apart each stunt piece by piece in the pyramid. You know, doing an extension where the rest of the pyramid is not around, everybody's circling the press, and you have 13 people like this ready to catch you if you fall. And I think that's offered a lot of reassurance. My favorite girls on the squad are the spotters. And some of the girls think, oh, that means you just stand around and you don't get to do anything spectacular. But they are the most important people on the whole squad to me. And actually, that's who's gotten hurt this year more than anybody, because Catherine, bless her heart, is an excellent spotter, but nobody touches the ground if Catherine's spotting them, because she dives underneath and makes sure that she's there for them to land on. But those are my favorites, is if they are there to catch the girl if they should fall. We do only go too high. We've done the extensions or the presses, which is where there's two girls standing and there's somebody in their feet. We've done a Liberty this year, and I've called it down a number of times. They wanted to perform it a good bit more than they got to. The girls do not, by any stretch of the imagination, mandate what stunts we do. I sort of cringed when he made that comment about letting the girls decide what we do. The girls do not decide. Either I decide or the parents decide. If the parent's concerned about where their daughter is in a stunt, then they have every right to say, I don't want my daughter there. But there are a lot of times that I say, this stunt's not going up, it is not as safe as it needs to be. We might practice it for a few months more. I've, on a number of occasions in the past, called back high school cheerleaders so that if we have something like a Liberty that involves a lot of the squad so they can't spot, calling back some of the old high school girls to come back and spot the stunt while we work on it, and they've been real cooperative. Double check, see if there are any more of these specific ones that we need to. We do have spotters behind everything that's above shoulder height. If they're sitting on somebody's shoulders, then we feel relatively safe that they're not going to go too far. But if they're standing on their shoulders or anything more than that, then there is always a spotter behind them. If your daughter feels uncomfortable, most of them I think have been real honest with me, and if they're in a position that they don't like, they'll say, Miss Warren, I don't want to go up on this, and they'll tell me so. But if your daughter makes this squat and she ever comes home saying, I was scared where I was, or I was uncomfortable where I was, call me immediately, because she will not be put in that position. I mean, there's some of them that it's just a first-time fear and they're jittery, and that's different. But if they're genuinely terrified, then they're going to hurt a lot of people when they come down. Okay? Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am. No. Okay. They will be taught two cheers. One is an individual cheer that they will do by themselves, and the other is a group cheer that they will do with the other two people that they're out with. They're going in groups of 3. Then they will do the dance, which has already been made up, in a group of 3 as well. The 3 young ladies will be out there doing that together. Then they will also be judged on each of those individual jumps. Okay? If they're not sure how those jumps look, you know, when they're performed, they can either check with one of the other cheerleaders or come up and ask me at school tomorrow or what have you to get the details on that. I think they'll probably have a pretty good idea about most of them. They will be doing left and right splits. Now the exact walkthrough, the girls that are doing clinic will tell them exactly how to do things, and we'll go through a little mock tryout Wednesday to say this is what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it. Gymnastics will be strictly optional. If all they can do is a cartwheel, tell them to do it. If all they can do, had a lot of girls at one point doing forward rolls and then pop up and do toe touch. If that's all they can do, have them do it. If they can do round off, back handspring, back tuck, you know, whatever, then have them do that. Whatever they're comfortable with, okay? And we will have a spotter there that the judges will know. If they are just there to spot, then there will be no points deducted for having a spotter there. Now, if the spotter has to actually push them over through a gymnastics routine or something, then there might be points deducted if they are actually doing the work. Yes, ma'am.
This paper that we were given says that the clinic is from the 16th to the 20th. And the tryouts are the
It should be the 8th.
It said
It's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
maybe it's my line.
I don't know, but some people had that this was, okay, okay. And it might be my computer ribbon, yes.
I need one question. On the paper, it says they all have to have a physical and have it turned in by the 1st of June.
Well, Sydney's will work from last year.
Oh, it will? Okay.
If
so
they've been
you've got that
involved-
week period only to get your physical. So
well-
I was wondering.
The critical thing is that really before we start building any stunts, we need to have all the physical forms in. If they've been involved in any other activities in the school, then the physical is good from 1 August to the next. So that would still be good. You need a new one for next year. when they do that.
What do they wear to try out? Do you have to buy things for this or?
Well, no, a lot of girls think that they need a new outfit for tryouts. That's not exactly accurate. They need to have, nice looking shorts that they can jump around in and move in. I don't want them real short, okay? They don't necessarily have to be the fingertip length, but just a standard athletic short type things. And then a t-shirt or comfortable shirt that, moves with them. Preferably mostly white shoes. The girls that cheered last year, I don't want them wearing their cheerleading shoes, okay? If any of the girls have cheerleading shoes, I demand that they not wear those simply because sometimes that tilts a judge's eye if they say, oh, that person was a cheerleader before, okay? So just to make it all fair, skip that part. Not the, having their hair up. But we'll go over this more with the girls when they actually come out to clinic.
I was just concerned about the 3 days, and if that hasn't it been longer in the past?
It has been, well, yeah, it has. Well, part of that has to do with the Busch Gardens trip messing that up. I was just trying to grab as many days as I could, and that was as many as I could get. We have been having a battle. That's why I extended it to 6, because normally we end things around here about 5:30 because it's getting darker. What was, now it's not as bad. That's why we extended it until 6 o'clock. They will be divided into smaller groups. Right now it's looking like about 8 or 10 girls per group. And so they will be able to have a little bit more attention to learn the material. They'll learn to dance right off the first day, so they will have plenty of time to work on that through, that's part of why I gave the jumps tonight. They have to pick up kind of quick. I mean, when we go to camp, they have to pick up. I mean, they don't give them very long to learn things. That's just something that you have to endure. But as well, I asked the girls that were making things up to not make them too unrealistic, so they know that these kids only have 3 days.
Who works for them at this?
Who works with?
Who works for the girls, the 3 days?
Oh, this was supposed to be a secret, but it's the 9th graders from last year.
That's what
Yeah. And they've been sworn because one of them has a little sister trying out, and she's been threatened with an inch of her life if she lets her little sister see any of this. And I trust her that she won't. So they've made sure that they're practicing away from the school. It's usually in one of the other girls' backyards or somewhere, so nobody's seeing any of this. Any more questions? Yes. Only one cut. I had done first cuts and finals once, and that was too painful.
Have we ever had boys?
We've never had guys try out for our squad. I won't stop them from trying out. Yeah. At the state of mind with our present administration, it really wouldn't suit us to get the guys in there because you put the guys in there so you can do more things, and if we're not allowed to do any more things anyway. The guys at this age tend to not quite have the self-discipline they need to stick with it. There are some junior highs. Wilkinson had them for a while, but I think only 2 of the boys, I think they probably started out with like 5, and by the end of basketball there were 2 left. And so they sort of dropped bit by bit at this age. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to it. When we were practicing the Nashville stunt that won the beautiful trophy downstairs, for one of the basketball games for Mr. Ramsey to allow us to do this, we had 4 or 5 of the basketball players spot the stunt. And Tara almost jumped off the top of it to get caught by Kurt Decker, but it didn't happen. Any more questions? Or anything I could possibly answer? Okay. If there are no more questions, please make sure you signed in. There are permission slips. Don't worry about your daughter's signature. I just need your signature. We will go over this information with them. Thank you very much.